Pye. I couldn't think of another name for you there.
No,
Gregarious Garry Pye. There you
that'll do.
go. Yeah, so awesome, everyone. Thanks again for being with us today. Gary's down in Australia, like I mentioned. I'm up here in Canada. And we are going to get started on a webinar really quickly. This is Gary's first webinar, so everyone be nice. Standard webinar rules apply. Yeah. No trashing in the comments, yeah, but Gary's basically going to be doing a Cartoon Animator tutorial or webinar rather today. And I'll be, I'll share my screen first because I got a couple things to go through here. And then Gary, you can retake the screen after I'm finished here. I'm just going to share my screen just to do a little bit of marketing stuff before we get started. Yeah, so this is today's webinar. This is the how to easily start your animation journey with Cartoon Animator. If you're part of this webinar right now, you've probably read all this, so I won't really need to go through it all. Gary will talk more about it later during his live demo. The webinar format goes, we're going to be doing a live demo for about the first 45-50 minutes, and then we will move on to a Q&A. And if you have any questions, please put your questions in the Q&A panel of Zoom there, and we'll get to those questions at the end. We are also live streaming on YouTube as well. But we're not going to be answering questions on YouTube, just so you're aware. So if you want your questions answered, please join the Zoom link there. And of course, it's going to be recorded for posterity later on, so you can come back and review this at any time that you want. As well, Gary has another webinar coming up, follow up to this one in May, on May 17th. So make sure you sign up for this one as well. This is about rigging a CTA5 G3 actor. So we always get questions, tons of questions about, how do you create the characters? And this is going to be the one that you'll want to take a look at if you're interested in, setting up and customizing and designing your own characters. All right. So make sure you check this out. Our Reallusion courses page, courses.reallusion.com/webinar/upcoming. You can find lots of tutorials there as well for Cartoon Animator and so on and so forth. As well, if you're looking for new assets, Marketplace is always a good place to find them, marketplace.reallusion.com. And there's a bunch of freebies here you can download from the Marketplace. Okay, so all this stuff is free. I'll throw this link in the chat window for you guys if you want to check her out there. Jaboom. Yeah, Gary has the most amazing characters and scenes. Indeed, he does.
There's a lot of
Don't let your head get too big there, Gary. I've used plenty of Gary's assets in the past. They're really awesome, high quality, obviously, for sure. So thanks for that comment. That was from Tanya. Okay, and free Marketplace link, I just put that in the chat window for you as well. There's always stuff in the content store as well. Content store. So this is the and there's free stuff here. There's a weekly freebie, weekly special in the content store. I'm not sure what it is this week. Oh, this is an iClone one. If you use iClone, that's cool. And there's a free monthly freebie as well. And this is a animation, but none of these are really relevant. You can use 3D animations in Cartoon Animator 5 using Motion Link, but that's a whole nother can of worms. We won't talk about that right now. But as always, we are going to be sending out a survey after this to your email. So make sure you check your email, fill out the survey, and you get a 10% discount in the content store. Anything you want to buy here, 10% off. All right. And for those of you who are students, you can qualify for educational licensing. So make sure you check out our Global Training Center here. I will throw this link in the chat window as well. And this one will allow you to get 60% off the list price of any software. So that's the higher listed price, unfortunately, but you still get 60% off of that. So it's better than any sales we offer. And I'll throw that in the chat for you there. And yeah, that's for students, teachers, whoever. If you're a teacher and you're looking to possibly teach this software in the future, there's free semester this week that we can offer people as well. So you can apply for free to use the software for 4 or 5 months or so and see how you like it. That's one other thing. Sorry, but how can I get a place where I can see the lessons again? Oh, that's from Moaz is asking, where can I get to the lessons again? That is courses.reallusion.com. Okay. And you can go to library here. This is where all the tutorials are. For you want to see over here, go to Cartoon Animator. And yeah, these are all the tutorials, and webinars can all be found under webinar, right? So really useful hub for all stuff. Yeah, and also Tanya mentioned here, Garry has a free course as well. So that's really awesome. Recommend checking that out. Well, yeah, go Garry. All right, let's see. I think that really about covers all I need to talk about. Yeah, again, just introducing Garry over here, and I think you're good to go, Garry. You get to take it away.
So you happy for me to share my screen?
Yeah, you can go ahead and share it now. I'll stop sharing mine.
It's okay. So you guys can see my screen?
Let me get back into Zoom here. Yep, all good. So you're good to go.
All right, let's.
Did you make sure to check the sound thing?
I did that.
Share sound.
The sound button was checked. Okay, we ready?
Okay, cool. Yeah, go for it.
G'day. My name is Garry Pye, and now we've got pop-ups. Sorry, my name is Garry Pye, and this is my very first official Cartoon Animator webinar. And the title of today's webinar is How to Start Your Animation Journey with Cartoon Animator. Now, I've got a whole series of lists here in front of me of things that I want to cover in the next hour, and they will include an introduction to me and my history with Cartoon Animator, my journey, how I started 10 years ago as a hobbyist, and how I managed to turn Cartoon Animator into my full-time job. Step by step, I'm going to take you through an actual Cartoon Animator project and show you just how easy this software is to use. I'm going to give you my top 3 tips for getting your animation journey started. We're going to have a look at all the new tools and features of Cartoon Animator 5, and we're going to break them down, have a look at them, and show you how they work. We're going to, the other thing that we're going to do is, we'll go through some questions and answers, the most common questions and answers that people ask when they want to start their animation journey, when they're looking for the right software. And then at the end of the webinar, we'll do a question and answer so you guys can ask your questions and get some live feedback. Now, to start with, what I want to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I came to be where I am today. And while I do that, what I want to do to start with is to just play you a little video that I put together, which is a package of a whole bunch of different videos and animations that I've made using Cartoon Animator from version 1 all the way up to version 5. So sit back, watch that, and I'll tell you about who I am. From the time I was old enough to hold a pencil, the only thing I ever wanted to do in life was draw cartoons. That's it. While all the other kids wanted to be doctors and lawyers and accountants, I just wanted to draw cartoons. I didn't have a backup plan. That's all I ever wanted to do. Eventually, I wanted to start to bring my cartoons to life. And to do that, I needed to learn 2D animation. Now, I got to tell you, I have used just about every conceivable 2D animation program known to man. I've tried them all. And for me, they all had one thing in common, and that was the learning curve was just too steep. If you're anything like me, if you're a creative person, then you know creative people just want to create. We don't want to get bogged down with learning and reading and courses and tutorials. We just want to get hands-on, get in there, and start animating. When I discovered Cartoon Animator, I was animating within hours, and within days, I was able to produce animation, which was good enough that I could post on YouTube to entertain my friends. Then one day I got an email from Reillusion inviting me to join the 2D marketplace. Now, the 2D marketplace is a section of the Reillusion website where illustrators and cartoonists can create their own content that they can sell in the marketplace to other Cartoon Animator users. So you can do actors, props, backgrounds, special effects, you name it, whatever you can think up, you can sell it. And the great thing about the marketplace is it's a source of passive income, okay? So while you're asleep or at the beach or in the garden doing whatever, your content can be selling and making you money. And I like to compare it to something like owning a pizza shop to show you the difference, right? If you own a pizza shop, that means you've got to pay rent, you've got to buy all the consumables, you've got to be on site, then you've got to wait for a customer. The customer comes in, they order a pizza, you make the pizza, you sell the pizza, they give you some money, terrific. But then the next person comes in and they order the same pizza. What do you have to do? You have to start the whole process again and make another pizza. With the marketplace, say for instance, I draw a picture of a tree, right? I draw the tree, I put it in the marketplace. Now it costs me nothing to put in the marketplace. It sits there quietly while I'm out doing my own thing. Customers are going past, having a look at it until someone comes along and goes, oh, I'd like to buy that tree. They buy the tree, I make some money. Great. Then the next person comes in and they go, oh, I'd like to buy that tree as well. And I can sell that tree over and over and over again, an infinite number of times. That is the beauty of the marketplace and passive income. I'm telling you, the marketplace is an absolute gold mine. Then one day, Reillusion came to me and asked me if I would be interested in being the 2D community manager for Cartoon Animator. And I jumped at the chance because I'm in the community all day, every day. I produce more content than any other developer. Not only do I love this software, but I love this community. We have an absolutely amazing community surrounding Cartoon Animator. And the thing is, sorry, I lost my train of thought. And the thing is, with the community, that's right. We've got all the different Facebook pages and communities set up, like Chris Meyer White has the Cartoon Animator Facebook users group set up. And we've got all the people in there from all over the world. We've got over 4,000 people in there that can help you work out and learn Cartoon Animator and answer all your questions. One of the things that I love about Cartoon Animator is that the software grows with you. As you join Cartoon Animator for the first time and you get started and your skills are very basic, Cartoon Animator is easy enough to pick up and start working with straight away. But then as your skills grow, the software grows with you, okay? You get more and more professional tools that will create quality animation. And the software itself is growing all the time. We're now up to version 5. We started with version 1. We're now up to version 5. And there's more ahead. We've got more updates coming, which is fantastic news. So essentially, what does the future hold for me? I will always love illustration and animation first. That's my first love. I will continue creating more stuff. But if the webinars like this are successful, then hopefully I can have a greater online presence, help everybody in a direct way to teach you how to get the most out of Cartoon Animator. So that's the end of what I want to say there. Now, you might be hearing my journey and thinking to yourself, okay, well, that's your story, but what about my journey? How do I get started? That's what I want to help you do. And the best way to do that is to actually show you a proper project set up in Cartoon Animator, show you how it works, break it down and show you how easy this software is to use. So what I've done is I've created a little project just for this webinar of Anita, my little character here, walking across the living room. I'll play the animation for you first in full, and then I'll show you how to do it. So Anita walks across the lounge room, she stops, she waves, and she says,
"Hi, I'm Anita."
Okay, nice and easy, simple. That's the way to start with Cartoon Animator. Start with a simple project, learn the basics. That's the best way to go. So we've got Anita set up in the living room here. And what we want to do is to have her walk across to the lounge. Now, the first thing we want to do is to apply an animation, a walk motion to Anita. And I've got to tell you, above all other software that I've ever used, Cartoon Animator makes this process so easy. And the simple reason is because we use pre-made motions, okay? Now, under normal circumstances, with any other software, if I said to you, I want you to make Anita walk across the room, you've got two options. One, you sit down and you hand draw every single frame. And that's going to take time, skill, and effort. And frankly, skill that I just don't have, okay? Or if the software you're using uses a puppet rigged system like Cartoon Animator, then you might have to keyframe all of Anita's motions as she walks across the screen. Again, a lot of time and a lot of skill. But with Cartoon Animator, we have hundreds of pre-made professional motions that you can just drag and drop onto your character for instant results. And I mean instant, right? So say, for instance, we've got the motions here of the walk cycle, okay? There's 3 motions files that apply for this. There's S, L, and E, which is start, loop, and end. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag that motion over onto Anita, and she will start her walk cycle, okay? Let's open the motions here so that we can see them as they get dropped to the screen. Then, if we hit the loop, drop that onto her, she'll start walking. Now we'll do a second one because we need to get her to walk all the way over to the lounge. Great. Then we'll drag and drop the end motion. And there we go. Now, if we go back to the beginning here and play that, Anita is now walking. Now, tell me any other software that can do that fast. And I'll listen, because I'm telling you that this is the #1 best thing about Cartoon Animator, is the speed at which you can apply animations and have your character moving. Now that we've got Anita walking, what we need to do is to get her to move across to the lounge. And to do that, we're going to use the transform track. So if we close off the motion track and we open the transform track, okay, we go back to the beginning. The transform track basically takes a prop or an actor and will alter their position on screen from one keyframe to the next. That's where your character will move, and Cartoon Animator will fill in all the in-between frames of that motion. So if we scroll ahead a little bit to the point where Anita is about to start walking, right, and then on our track there, if we hit the V key, that will put in a keyframe at that point on the timeline. So from there to there, Anita, the actual overall character, will hold position. But we want her to move across to the lounge. So if we move across to the point where Anita stops walking, about there, grab the character and move her into position to where we want to go. What we've told Cartoon Animator here is that from this keyframe to this keyframe, we want Anita to move across the screen for that many frames. So now, if we go back to the beginning and play it, Anita walks across into position. Now, we made that. I mean, that's as simple as you're going to get, right? I get it. That's really basic. But we just made that animation in like a minute, right? That's how fast you can animate. How much detail you want to put into it beyond that point is up to you. What I'm going to show you here are the basics of how to get your character to move. But if you watch that animation back that I made, you'll see a lot of nuanced motion, like when she waves her arm, the other arm will drop and her eyebrows will lift and stuff like that. That's up to you. You go in and you can add as much detail as you possibly want. So now that we've got Anita and she walks across to the lounge, if we try to make it like that first animation, what we need to do is to get Anita to raise her arm and wave. Now, we could apply a pre-made motion to this of a wave motion, but you can also keyframe all your individual motions. You can keyframe every single frame of your cartoon. If we open the 2D motion editor, right, you've got two options here. You can see on the screen that we open up the puppet and you can see all the rigging that makes up Anita now. We have two options of how we can keyframe her motion. We have full body and we have selected part. With the full body, when we hit set key, what's going to happen is we're going to get a keyframe on every single body part of Anita all at once. If we use selected part, then we just get a keyframe for that one body part, like the arm or the leg or the neck. So for this one, let's open up the motion track again. Okay, I'm just going to pop this up here so that I can see. Okay, at this point on the timeline, hit the V key, set key there, so that you can see that that's now applied a keyframe to every single bone in Anita's body. So if we move forward a little bit now, we can grab her arm and we can move it up into position, and you'll see a new keyframe is added telling Cartoon Animator that we're going to take the arm from there to there, and it fills in all the keyframes in between. You didn't have to draw them. You didn't have to position them all individually. It does all the heavy lifting for you. It means you can animate instead of having to calculate. So now what we'll do is move forward a little bit because we're going to have the arm wave a little bit, come back. Oh, I move the hand. We're just going to have the come back a little bit, go forward, come back, and then finally we'll have her drop her arm down back by her side. So what we've told Cartoon Animator now is from this position, we're going to raise the arm to this keyframe. Then in this series of keyframes, the hand will wave backwards and forwards. And then finally, drop the arm back again so that you end up with this. Nice and easy. You can work out your timing and your spacing by moving your keyframes backwards and forwards, but you see what we're trying to do. Now, the other thing that we want to do, when Anita stops, as she raises her arm, we want it to look to camera. Now, one of the beautiful things about this character, or the G3 characters in general, is that Anita has what's called a 360 head. And that means even though she's a two-dimensional character, she can move her head around in 360 degrees, which makes her look so much more three-dimensional. And I'll show you a bit more about that later on. But for now, what we need to do is to close off the motion track and open the face track. And down here, you'll see facial clip. The facial clip has 3 individual timelines, and it's good to get to know what these 3 timelines do. First, you've got your head timeline. It's responsible for the rotation of the 360 head. Then you have the face timeline. The job of the face timeline is just to control the face detail settings within the face. So for instance, if Anita squints her eyes, if she raises her nose or something like that, that's controlled there. And finally, you have the eye timeline track, and its job is to solely control the colored iris of the eye as it moves around on the eye white. So for now, what we want to do is, as Anita raises her hand, we want it to look to camera, okay? So let's select the head timeline and hit the V key. Where are we? Here we go, hit the V key on the head timeline. And that will add a keyframe on the head timeline, meaning that from frame 1 to this frame, her head will not turn. But as she raises her arm, we want Anita's head to turn. So with our head rotation gizmo turned on, you'll see this little gray square, a little gray circle here. When I grab that, I can move Anita's head around in space, and she has a wonderful 3D head. I mean, it's so good. It just changes your characters from looking like flat cutouts. We're not doing that. We're trying to make them look more three-dimensional. So from this point here to that point there, we can turn the head gizmo off. From this point to that point, as she raises her arm, she's going to look to camera. Now, as well as looking to camera, fine to turn her head, but we also need her to look to the camera with her eyes. So using the eye track, if we go back to when she starts to turn her head, down on the eye track there, hit the V key, and that will put in a keyframe of the point where we want the eyes to start moving, right? And then we move forward on the timeline. Now up here, you'll see this face dummy in the face key editor, and we can select the eyes by clicking on them like that. The eyes will highlight, and now if you hold down your left mouse button and drag anywhere in this gray area around the outside of the face, you'll see that Anita's eyes will move around. So you can position them exactly where you want. So what we do is we get Anita to look forward, right? And now, oh, I put it on the face track because it was covered. Sorry, guys. Let's go back for 1 second. I put it on the face track. I clicked the wrong track. So on the eye track, doing it again, on the eye track, there we go. As she looks forward, all we do is hold down the eyes, hold down the left mouse button on the face key editor, put her eyes in position, and now, properly, you see the keyframe turn up there, so that from that point to that point, when we play it, Anita now looks to camera. Now, here's a really good tip for animating actors' performance. I find that when we're talking and we look over there, if you're talking to somebody and you look over there, as we do it, you tend to blink. Okay, so as you turn your head, you'll blink. So whenever I animate a character, as she turns her head, I will add a blink in. To do that, if you open your sprite editor, this is the menu where you see all of your character parts. Okay, so these are all of Anita's body parts. These are all of Anita's face parts. We've got, for instance, 55 different mouths that we've got on Anita for creating all different expressions and doing lip syncing. And if you select the eyes, these are all the different eye sprites. So what we want to do now is to close Anita's eyes, select the other eye, close it, and she will blink. And if we scroll up here a little bit, you can see that on the eye track, we now have the closed sprite. If we move forward, 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, I use 4 frames generally for an ordinary blink. If you can use 3 frames if a character's talking really fast, or 6 frames if they're talking really slow, but I tend to find that it works better with 4 frames. So now when she comes up, she'll blink, turns her head, and looks to camera. So what you're doing is you're creating your performance of your character as you go. You don't have to do it all at once. You can focus on one individual aspect of the character at a time. Now, let's say we want to add some audio to the character. We want the character to speak. What we can do is you can go back through the timeline and work out the point when you want the character to speak, right? And this is one of the great things about Cartoon Animator. You can go back and you can make changes after you've done some animation. If you're doing traditional hand animation, frame by frame on paper, and you've just done 4,000 frames of animation and you decide, you know what, I want to go back and make a change at frame 15. You can't do that. You can't make that change. But with Cartoon Animator, you can go all the way back to wherever you want in your animation and make little changes. And that's such a great thing that you can do. So at this point, we want to add in voice for Anita. So if we go up the top, scroll up the top to the voice clip and select it, and then right click and we click import. Now you get the option, you can import either an MP3 or a WAV file. When I click this and import it, what's going to happen is you'll hear the audio and Cartoon Animator will select the best mouth sprites that it thinks will give the best lip syncing. Okay, so let's do that to start with, and then we'll see how we go.
Hi, I'm Anita.
Okay, one of the other things that you can do here is if you select your audio clip, you can use the break function so that you can trim your audio down so you only get the part of the audio that you want. Now, when you watch it, Cartoon Animator has automatically added lip syncing like this.
Hi, I'm Anita.
Okay, now there's 2 different types of lip syncing that you can do, automatic and manual. The automatic lip syncing is just fine if you've got a character that just does a little bit of dialogue, or if they're way off in the distance and they're talking, it works fine. But if you've got a character that's up close to screen and talking, then you want to try and learn manual lip syncing, which basically just means that you go in and you swap across the mouth sprites that you think best represent the sounds that you're hearing. And to show you the difference, let me just show you this animation that I made before again. Let me just play this again. And this time, pay particular attention to Anita's lip syncing.
Hi, I'm Anita.
Okay, as you can see, the manual lip syncing just gives you a lot better option, a lot more accurate, because it doesn't take you out of the animation. If your lip syncing is correct, it makes your character way more believable. Okay. Now, the last thing that we want to do here is to show you how we can change Anita's hand gestures, because being a G3 character, Anita also has bone hands. And that means that in her hands, she has individual bones that allow her fingers to bend and stretch, so we can use hand gestures. What we'll do is we'll go back to where Anita is raising her hand. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. we'll zoom in on the character a little bit. Let's zoom in so that we can actually see the difference that this will make. Now, what we need to do, we need to get rid of the face option and open the motions and open our keyframing. And when we open the keyframes, the motion key editor, you'll also see that you have the hand gesture icon. Select that and you'll get your hand pose editor. These are all different hand gestures that you can keyframe between to get the hand to change position. So if we select Anita's left hand now, and we make sure that left hand is selected in the hand pose editor, and then we come down to the L finger track and move along to that first, just going to move that, move along to that first keyframe here, okay? What we're going to do is, as she raises her hand to here, we're going to have her open her fingers because she's going into a wave. So if we go, we pick this one here, you watch, Anita's fingers will spread open. When we go forward, we'll leave it there with the finger spread gesture like that because she's waving. Then as she drops her hand back to here, let's change the shape of her hand to something completely different. Let's go with that shape so that now you can see that she goes from the open hand position. As she brings her hand down, it automatically keyframes down to the gesture like that. So when we go back to our animation at the end and we play it, you can see the rough version of the animation that we created, raises a hand.
Hi, I'm Anita.
And that's all there is to it. Now, we made that in like 5-6 minutes, okay? From that point on, what you can do is you can go through and just pick out all your details, make her foot balance in the right place, make sure that you keyframe her eye sprites and her eyebrows and things like that until eventually you get a realistic performance. So that's the way Cartoon Animator works. That's how easy it is to use. I told you that I would give you my top 3 tips for using Cartoon Animator, and I want to do that now. My top number 1 tip for using Cartoon Animator is learn the basics. When I first started with Cartoon Animator, within the first hour of opening the program and getting started, I was convinced that I was going to produce the next Pixar animation in the next hour. Doesn't work like that. The only way you're going to produce quality animation is if you know how the program works properly. You need to break it down and understand everything. The main things that you want to learn is your timeline and keyframes, like I showed you there. Understand how the keyframes affect each timeline. That's a really important thing. And the other thing that's very important is to understand your X, Y, and Z axis. And I want to explain those to you now because the Z axis in particular is really important when it comes to Cartoon Animator. If we go into 3D view for a second, you'll see this is our scene setup if it was a 3D view. And you've got this little 3-way axis arrows here. The green arrow represents either a character or a prop's vertical movement, okay? The red arrow represents their horizontal movement on screen, but it's the blue arrow that you need to learn because the blue arrow changes their depth in the animation, okay? Imagine if you're sitting in the audience of a Broadway musical and you're looking at the stage and what you see on the screen there is the stage. The Z-axis determines where Anita stands on that stage, whether she's standing close to the audience or further back to the curtains. The higher the Z-axis value, the closer to camera she'll be. The further back she wants to be, lower the Z-axis. Easy as that. So if we take the couch here, for instance, the couch has a Z-axis of 28, all right? Anita currently has a Z-axis of 252.6, which means she's way in front of it. If we were to put Anita's Z-axis value at 27, suddenly she's behind the lounge. So it's important to learn the layering, how layering is affected by the Z-axis. And another thing that the Z-axis is really, really helpful for is being able to create a parallax look in your camera. Take, for instance, this lamp. At the moment, if we move the camera around, everything just looks like a flat image, okay? If we grab that lamp, whose Z-axis is currently 50, but we change that Z-axis to be, say, 500, what's going to happen is the lamp is now sitting way closer to us. So if we move the camera by panning it side to side, now we start to get a 3D view of the room because it looks like the lamp is coming closer to us. So that's how you can use your Z-axis. Learn that, it's really important. Second top tip that I want to give you. Break down the actors that you've got. Now, whether it's a character like Anita here from mine, or any of the characters that you can buy from the marketplace, even if it's just the template character that comes with Cartoon Animator, go in and break this character down and learn how it works. You can see by the template character all the individual parts that make it up that you need if you want to create your own characters that you need to be able to put into the actor. And if we open Anita in composer mode, it's a good idea to do that so that you have an understanding of how she works. You can see all the individual parts here that make Anita up. These are all her head parts, all her body parts. You can replace them if you want to make your own characters, or you can use this as a guide to creating your own characters. So you can see where the bones sit, where the pivot points sit. For instance, you can open the facial animation setup screen here, and you can see all the setups for where her pupils will sit as she looks around, where all her eyebrow positioning will be for facial puppetry. Is a great idea. You can go into the 360 setup. With the 360 heads, you can now see that Anita has 9 different angles set up to create a 360 head, right? If I preview that and move it around, there you can see how Anita's head works as 360. The 360 head characters are amazing. You can do some incredible work with 360 heads. Now, the next top tip that I can give you, ask questions. When you get into Cartoon Animator for the first time, or any software, anything, any new hobby, it can be overwhelming. And if you're left on your own to just try and understand everything, you're going to flounder, you're going to take a lot longer to learn. We've got the most amazing community around Cartoon Animator. Okay, we have the Cartoon Animator Facebook group, and it's called Cartoon Animator Facebook Users. No, Cartoon Animator Users. Sorry, the Cartoon Animator Users Facebook group, run by Christopher Meyer White, which is the most amazing Facebook page that has over 4,000 users in there. And we have artists and illustrators, animators, musicians, everybody's in there. Come in there, and if you've got any questions, ask. We have a rule in that Facebook page: no question is a dumb question. There's only questions you don't know the answer to yet. And we were all in the same position that you were. We all had day one. We didn't know what we were doing. So get into the Cartoon Animator Users Facebook group and ask questions. That's a really important one. I said I'd give you 3 top tips, but I want to give you one more that occurred to me today. And that is, don't limit yourself, okay? Don't ever start a project with Cartoon Animator and think to yourself, oh, can the animation software do it? Yes, it can. Think to yourself, I want to do this. Now, how can I make the software do it? Because I promise you, Cartoon Animator can do whatever you want. You just have to think outside the box and work out how to do it. The next thing that I want to do is I want to take you through the new features of Cartoon Animator 5. I want to show you some of the new features and show you how they work. And to do that, what I want to do is to bring up a fresh copy of Anita. Some of my characters here. Okay, we'll bring up a fresh copy of Anita, and I'll take you through some of the new features of Cartoon Animator 5. First of all, color management. Color management is amazing because it extends the life of your actors. Previously to Cartoon Animator 5, all of our actors were PNG based. Okay, and you can still make them PNG if you want, there's no problem. But now you have the option of also making SVG characters, so vector actors. And the benefit of that is, as a developer, when we set up our characters, we can set up the color management so you, as the end user, get more usage, more flexibility and customization out of your actors. If we open the SVG color adjustment group, you can see that Anita has two folders, one for clothing, one for body. Let's go with the body first, because the skin is the one thing that everybody in previous issues had an issue, previous versions of Cartoon Animator had an issue with. As soon as you made a character, everybody went, oh, can you make it in a different ethnicity? Can you make it in a different skin color? And for developers, you had to go back and do all that manually. But now with Cartoon Animator 5 and the color adjustment, you can change the color of any single part of your character instantly. You'll see that you have 5 different slider bars. You've got opacity, brightness, contrast, hue, and saturation that will affect your character. So if we've got the skin, let's reduce the brightness and let's reduce the saturation. And then all of a sudden, we've got a whole different look for Anita. We have a whole different ethnicity for her. And that really just, you've got a whole new character. It expands the usage of your characters and extends their their lifespan. You can do this not only with the skin, but you can do it with her hair. You can do it with her eyes. If we take the eye color and we change the hue of the eyes, we can do that in an instant, and it's all in real time. You can do it with her clothing. So let's take her pants, for instance. Where's her pants? Change the hue. We can do it instantly. We can change the contrast. We can change the saturation. It's amazing. But one of the other really cool parts about color management is the opacity filter, okay? Because the opacity filter means you can have something that's 100% opaque and solid, or you can have it 100% invisible. So say, for instance, we take, let's take her glasses. If we take Anita's glasses, at the moment, opacity set to 100, therefore we can see them. If we reduce it to 0, it becomes invisible. We can no longer see it. And again, you've changed the whole look of the character straight away. But the thing is, you can also make things translucent. You can make them partially transparent. And the great thing with that is, if you create a character that has, say, sunglasses, you can make the lens of the sunglass partially see-through. If you did, say, like a bride, you can have the veil partially see-through. And it also means that you can soften your coloring on your characters. So if we go into Anita, see her cheeks, see how Anita's cheeks are quite dominant. You can see the edging of them. If we select her cheeks, there we go, which will now flash. If we make them partially, the opacity reduced, now it softens up the edge of them, which makes your characters look much softer. So learn to play around with all that, and you can customize the heck out of your characters. You can do some amazing stuff with that. The next thing that I want to show you are the spring bones. Let's go back out a second, and we'll take Anita into composer mode. With spring bones, look, I got to tell you, I am the poster boy for spring bones. Spring bones are the thing that gets me most excited about Cartoon Animator 5, and are the best reason why, if you have any other version of Cartoon Animator, you want to upgrade to Cartoon Animator 5. Spring bones takes a whole bunch of the heavy lifting out of your animating for you. Let's say, for instance, I wanted to animate Anita's hair moving, and I wanted to do it in, say, Cartoon Animator 4. I could do that, but I would have to keyframe the motion of her hair moving. That's time-consuming, tedious, and often just not that accurate, okay? But with spring bones, now what happens is Cartoon Animator 5 automates that whole process. So if we open the spring bone tab, and where are we? Just move that. If we open the spring bone tab and we go to the face and we zoom in so that we can see Anita's face, you can see all the bones that make up Anita's face now. You've got the gray bones, they're static bones. You've got the orange bones, which are part of the hair folder. They are spring bones, and they will move. and I'll demonstrate. If we click preview on Anita, okay, when we move the head around nice and slow, yeah, there's not a lot of movement. But when we grab the gizmo and we tilt her head side to side, or we rotate it a little bit faster like that, you can see all of her hair gets the most beautiful, dynamic, springy motion. And that just makes your characters look so much more believable. And it stops the animation being so rigid. While we're in here, I'll show you how to apply spring bones. To do that, the easiest thing would be to actually remove some spring bones first, I guess. So let's take hair 2 and we'll remove that from the group. And interesting, if we go to preview now when we move her hair, see how the hair is static? Because there's no spring bone associated with these bones, now her hair is all static. To add a spring bone, all you need to do is to select the bone you want. What are we looking at? Hair 2, that bone there, and then assign it to the group. In this case, the hair group. And what happens is it will assign that spring bone plus any other bones that come after it to that group. You can have multiple groups. So for instance, you could have the hair on the top of her head move at one speed, the hair at the back of her head move at a different speed, her skirt, whatever. It can all move at different speeds. You've got presets down the bottom so that you can click on these and they'll automatically give you presets, or you can go in and you can manually configure all of the motion for your spring bones. Finally, the last thing that we have that's new to Cartoon Animator is vector scaling. Because now we're using vector characters, what happens is when we zoom in on a character like this, you'll see down here, it will come up and tell us that it's vectorizing the character. And now we get a nice, sharp, smooth edge on our character, which means any of the characters that are up close to camera, you're not going to get any pixelation. You're going to get nice, smooth image. Oh, the other thing, freeform deformation. I nearly forgot. We also have freeform deformation in Cartoon Animator 5. Now, let me explain what that is. Reillusion has created a system of characters that work on a cutout puppet system. And then they've gone out of their way to do everything possible to make sure that that puppet does not move in a stiff, rigid way, that you can move that puppet so that it has a nice springy feel that gives it a more hand-drawn quality, okay? And that's with things like spring bones, which automate movement, and also freeform deformation. Freeform deformation takes the entire character and treats it as if it's rubber, so you can bend it and squash it and stretch it. I'm going to give you a demonstration of how freeform deformation works, but understand when I do this, I'm going to do it really exaggerated so that you can see it, okay? Now, normally, when you add freeform deformation, I use it in a very subtle way, but we're going to do it a little bit more exaggerated. So to do it, let's zoom out for a second. Let's add a motion to Anita. Okay, let's go with a run cycle. What we'll do, we'll drop a run motion onto Anita, do it twice, so she runs. Then we'll add the end. So the motion that we've got is just Anita running like that, okay? What I want to do is to add some freeform deformation to the character to make her a lot more spongy. So if we open our timelines at the bottom and we go to freeform deformation to open our timeline track, and we open our menu for the spring editor. Sorry, I'm not spring edit, so the freeform deformation. Here we go. And we open our freeform deformation. Now, what we can do, you'll see the lattice work that turns up around Anita. That controls the shape of your freeform deformation. You can use presets that will change all the shape and look of the character, or you can grab the lattice work and control it all yourself. What we're going to do is we're going to find the point in the animation where Anita stops, okay? So just before that, on the freeform deformation layer, we're going to add a keyframe. Sorry, I just pushed ahead. We're going to add a keyframe, move forward, and as she squashes down, what we're going to do is we're going to make her really go into a squash. Now I'm going to do it, as I said, way over exaggerated, but it's to show you what happens. So let's grab this lattice here and really squash Anita down like that. We'll get it a hold position to the next few keyframes. So we'll put a V, hit V, put a keyframe on the timeline track. And then as she straightens up, what we'll do is we'll have her extend up, move forward, and go back to her original position. So she's going to squash right down, jump up, and then move back into position. So this will just give you an idea of how freeform deformation goes. Let's watch it. She runs, she squashes, she jumps up. You can imagine when you apply that to something like jelly on a plate or a tree waving in the wind or something like that, you can imagine how soft and dynamic that can make your animation. So that's another feature of Cartoon Animator. Okay, what I'd like to do now is to just address some of the most common questions that people ask when they want to start their animation journey. Okay, whether they're looking for a specific animation program, whether they're looking into Cartoon Animator and thinking it might be for them, these are some of the most common questions that people ask. Number one, is Cartoon Animator easy to use? Yes, it absolutely is. As I said, I've tried them all. For me personally, I find this is the easiest software to use. That's because Cartoon Animator is designed to do so much of the heavy lifting for you. Okay, with traditional animation, you have to do every frame by frame. We've got guys that do that. ZAxis. They're amazing, absolutely amazing, but I don't know how they do it. You don't have to worry about that. Cartoon Animator does all the heavy lifting for you with things like spring bones and freeform deformation and pre-made motions, and it does all the in-between frames for you. You can be animating with Cartoon Animator fast. Another question that's commonly asked is, do I have to be able to draw to animate? Again, with a lot of the other software, absolutely. If you can't draw, you wasted your money. But with Cartoon Animator, we have a lot of characters that come already in with the software. We have the 2D marketplace where you can buy as many different characters as you want. You can animate from a photograph. You can bring in just clip art or a single photograph, throw in some bones and animate it straight away. You don't have to be able to draw to produce quality animation. A good question is Cartoon Animator expensive? Now, this is an interesting question because it's really just it's a personal opinion. What's expensive to me may not be expensive to you and vice versa. But I look at it this way. If you want to start a new hobby, let's say 2D animation, and Cartoon Animator at the moment is sitting around about $150 US. That's not too much money to be able to produce everything I've shown you today. We don't have a subscription-based payment system. You buy the software outright, which is great. You get everything that you need to produce the animations that I've shown you today. Beyond that, if you want to, down the track, you can purchase other add-ons. You can purchase other motion packs. You can buy more content from the marketplace, but you don't have to. Everything you need to animate is right there. I love this question. Can Cartoon Animator produce quality 2D animation? Yes, absolutely, you bet it can. If you take a cartoon, successful cartoons, say like Peppa Pig, like Bluey, things like that, Cartoon Animator can produce that style of animation, no problem at all. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but do you know what is the most viewed YouTube video of all time? Baby Shark. Baby Shark is the highest watched video on YouTube of all time with 11 billion views. Cartoon Animator could produce Baby Shark in maybe a week or so. So you can absolutely produce artwork and illustrations and animations that are going to get attention with Cartoon Animator. Another 2 questions to go. Is there good support for Cartoon Animator? Absolutely. We have the greatest community that I've ever been a part of. The Cartoon Animator users Facebook group is available 24 hours a day, and we have over 4,000, nearly 4,000 people in there that will answer every question you can possibly imagine. You've got the manual that comes with the software. You've got the official tech support from Reillusion. Then you've got the webinars and tutorials on Reillusion's official YouTube channel. Then you've got the individual YouTube webinars and tutorials that people like myself and other developers produce that will help people. You've got all the support you could possibly want. And I'll tell you something else. At the end of this webinar, I'll give you my email address. And if you've got any questions, you can come direct to me and ask, and I will get you the answers to your questions. We're here to help you. So the last question is, can I make money animating? There's two ways you can make money animating with Cartoon Animator. One, you can produce the next baby shark. That's totally doable. That's up to you. That's just up to your imagination. The software is there. You've just got to be able to produce it. If you can produce that, you can monetize it, you can make money. But the second way you can make money is to make use of the 2D marketplace, which is an absolute gold mine for developers. When you start with the 2D marketplace, you're going to start with just a couple of items to sell, and you're only going to make a small amount of money. But over time, your catalog is going to grow and you're going to make more money. I make a living out of the Cartoon Animator marketplace. I currently have over 5,000 individual items for sale in the marketplace. It can be done. That's it. That's everything I want to tell you. Now, if Kai's still quietly in the background listening, we're going to open it up to the Q&A so you guys can ask your questions and we'll see how we can help you. Kai.
Hey, I'm still here. How's it going?
You didn't nod off?
Yeah, no, just you know, chilling, learning some stuff. That was awesome. Went flawlessly. Congratulations to Garry for his very first live webinar. So
well, the first
really
one's
awesome.
out the way. The first one's out the way. So
yeah, we got another one in a month, right?
We're going to do another one in a month, and the next one that we're going to do is going to be focused a little bit more on people that have been using Cartoon Animator for a while and who want to create their own characters. I'm not going to take you through individual step-by-step how to do it, but what I am going to do is to go through some of the pitfalls and traps and things that you really need to know to focus on to be able to do it. The stuff that I struggled with when I started, I can help you figure that out now.
Awesome. Yeah, great. I'm kind of speechless. It went flawlessly. Actually learned some little tips as well myself. So thanks for
you know what? Can I just say, I still learn stuff. I still learn stuff every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm amazed by the fact that I've been using this for 10 years and I'll still come along some days and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do that. The program is huge. I mean, it's huge, but the great thing is that it's all laid out so simply that you can get in and learn it fast enough.
Yeah, exactly. Never stop learning, right?
Exactly. No, never stop learning.
All right. Cool. Well, amazing again. Good job, Gaz. So yeah, guys, we're gonna do the Q&A now. So any questions you have, I know there was a few questions in the chat that we may not have answered. So if you have any questions right now, put those in the Q&A. We have a ton of interest, ton of attendees here. Really, thank you everyone for coming with us. Yes, I love the enthusiasm in the chat. I know you didn't see it, Garry, but everyone was kind of joshing around and having a good time.
I actually turned the chat off so that it wouldn't distract me, because otherwise I was going to keep reading that. So I didn't read the chat, because to be honest, talking for 45 minutes straight is hard enough to keep your head around what you're trying to say without trying to detour. And I knew as soon as I did that I'd start reading the comments, and then I'd just go off track over here, and then I'd get into trouble because I wasn't focusing.
Yeah, that's all right. Everyone just kind of commenting about how they love your hairstyle, and you know, you just have such a handsome young man with.
I'll wear a hat next time.
Intense skills in Cartoon Animator. Anyways, all right, guys. Looks like we have some questions already. So basically, Garry, if there's anything that requires kind of like a demo, I'll just hand it over to you, and you can kind of show on your screen and stuff.
If I can demo it on screen, I will. If I can't, everybody's welcome to just email me, and I'll get back and I'll either direct you to where you can find the answer, or I'll show you myself.
Yep. And as well, I think during the demo, someone posted the Facebook group that
good.
you kind of run over there. So
Good.
Cartoon Animator users,
Yes.
that was posted in the chat. We can probably post that again at some point because it's really good.
Make sure if you're in, I'm not kidding around. If you're in on this webinar, if you're watching this video, please go join that group. It's not for me. It's not for Chris. We don't get anything out of it, but I promise you, you will get a lot out of it. Your learning curve will speed up 100 times because anything you don't have to go looking up answers to questions. You can just get in there and ask, and you'll get an instant answer.
Yeah, and somebody actually commented, like this Facebook group was actually even like way better than the Real forums. And I can pretty much say I wholeheartedly agree.
You know what?
I know questions get answered there really fast and stuff. So.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm in the forums all the time, but I get lost in the forums. And when I started, you'd post a question there, and you're right. You've got to go back and check it the next day and hope somebody's picked it up. Then it gets lost in translation. But yeah, over on that Facebook page, I guarantee you post a question, you will have an answer within an hour. It's amazing.
Yeah, amazing for sure. It's kind of funny because I think it was William who was mentioning he actually canceled a date with his dinner date with his wife just to be here for us. So kudos to William. He might be sleeping in the doghouse tonight, but yeah. All right, let's get to the questions, anyways. All right. First one's from anonymous attendee. All right, I'm new to animation. What is included in the student version of CTA 5 and what is not included? Easy question to answer. Everything is included, the same as the full version. It's just 60% off. So you just got to show like you need to send us a student ID with a valid date on it or some kind of record that has a date on it, and pretty much you're golden. You're good to go there. So that's all you really need to do. That website I showed you earlier, the Global Training Center, check that out and apply there. Let's go on to the next one here. Abisai. 2 questions. If I already have Cartoon Animator, can I still buy the extra stuff from the bundles? Absolutely, you can. Yeah, no one's stopping you there. There are more than the bundles. Second question, and I think this really depends on what bundle I bought when I first got Cartoon Animator 5. How do you access the character creator? So the character creator in Cartoon Animator is a little bit different. Gary went into it a little bit earlier when he was talking about the character, but
see, it's easy to get confused because iClone has character creator, whereas we really have character composer. So the idea is that so if I've got this character here, if I've got Anita on screen, then up here, if I press that button, that takes me into composer mode. That's the point where you can start making all the changes to your characters. So you can go in, you can replace sprites, you can move bones around and do all that sort of thing. That's the difference between the character creator and composer mode. Hopefully one day we'll have a character creator for Cartoon Animator 5, 6.
Yeah, that's what everyone's wishing for, and that's what we're looking to develop for sure. The good point though, it's called character composer, or rather composer mode in Cartoon Animator. And in our 3D software is called Character Creator. So don't get those mixed up. I often get them mixed up myself. If I'm doing like a webinar or something, I'll just randomly bust out Character Creator because most of my stuff is done in the 3D realm as well. So, all right. Renee says, sorry, I'm late. I'm here now. All right. Welcome, Renee. I think Renee is one of the more prolific.
Renee's been with me as one of my followers for a very, very long time. Very long time.
Well, welcome, Renee. Thanks for being here with us. I think she was blabbering on in the chat as well with everyone else. Rita says, side question, Kai. I just got a new laptop and I downloaded CTA 5 on my previous laptop. How do I get it all transferred over to my new laptop? Can you point me to what I need to do? If you get a new laptop, there's actually a couple tutorials that show you how to transfer items over. The best thing to do is just go into Reillusion Hub. So Reillusion Hub is just basically where you install all the software. I'll just throw this link into the chat window here. Everyone should be familiar with Reillusion Hub because this is where you download your stuff and this is where you can manage all of your software. So I'll throw this in the chat window for you guys. Reillusion Hub, you can check that out. That's where you download it. Now, where you can also go to your account backend. So if you just go to the main reallusion.com site, and I need to log in for some reason. All right, there we go. So when you log into your account, there's also a order history and a registration page. So this is the registration page. I'll throw this link in the chat window as well. Love the hub. Okay, so this is the registration. This is where you can find all of your basically all the software you have registered to your account, and you'll see a couple of columns here for activated number. I'll just briefly show my. Oh, actually, I probably shouldn't. This is kind of sensitive information, but you'll see your all the products that you've purchased: Cartoon Animator 5, Cartoon Animator 4, yada yada, and you'll see the number of activated licenses there as well. If you have one, you're able to install Cartoon Animator simultaneously on 2 separate workstations. So you're able to have a total of 2 activated numbers. And if you want to go into 3, then unfortunately you have to deactivate one of the previous ones. So simultaneously, you're only allowed 2 activated workstations at a time. So if you want to change it to a different workstation, this is where you can kind of activate and deactivate on different workstations in your backend registration there. And this is accessible, like I mentioned, from the main Reallusion page. And then you just go into your account, the little picture of your whatever avatar you have up there, and go to registration. And that should work for you there. All right. Sovereign Odell, cool name. It would be nice to have a CC to CA export available. Right now, there isn't only an option to iAvatar sent to iClone, but characters are being made in CC. So, I mean, obviously, the biggest barrier there is that Cartoon Animator is a 2D software. Character Creator is a 3D software. I mean, technically, you can export your Character Creator character as an image, and you can rip it apart in Photoshop or whatever editing software you use.
You know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I've thought about doing that myself. I played with it one time because I've got Character Creator, and I played with it one time, and you can easily get in there and Photoshop it and break all your parts apart. But the biggest problem that you're going to have is you'd have to have all your mouths, and to get all your mouth sprites and stuff like that, that's going to take you forever. It could be done, but I just think it'd be way too lengthy a process. If you're going to have a 3D character, stick to the 3D world. If you're going to have a 2D character, stick to the 2D world. Yeah,
it's not going to be an easy process, but I mean, it's definitely doable, and you can be done with good quality too, for sure, if you have the wherewithal to do that and the patience. There's unfortunately no like speedy pipeline right now to do it, but we have that in other 3D software, but not with Cartoon Animator, unfortunately. I don't think there's enough of a demand right now to develop that feature, but if there is, you can always give us your feedback on the forms that we're going to send out as well. We're always looking for feedback. So if enough people want a feature, hey, it could be like, give us the option for a banana colored interface, and if there's enough people, we'll be like, sure, why not, right? All right. Next question from Tige Tiongo, another cool name. I'm really interested in how you design the eye sprites and mouths. Do you draw each and every sprite? That's for you, Gary.
Okay, first of all, I'm really impressed that you can pronounce that guy's name, because I've been looking at it for several.
I probably butchered it.
I've been sitting here looking at that name for ages, going, "Oh, I'm going to struggle on this one." Look, Tige, you want to make sure that you come to the next webinar. Sign up for it now, because that's what I'm going to cover in the next webinar. One of the things that I will discuss is the layering of the eyes. When I started with Cartoon Animator, that was the thing that I struggled with the most, trying to understand how to do the eyes. You've got 2 different ways you can do them. You can do eye sprites that you can just have all your different eye sprites. So you can just click it. And you've got one looking left, one looking right, one looking up. You can do it that way. A lot of the guys will do that. But if you want to get the eyes moving the way Anita's eyes move, then you need to have the layering structure right. Actually, you know what you want to do? If you send me an email, I'll send you, I have a free tutorial, written tutorial on how to rig your characters. If you send me an email, I'll send it to you, and that covers step by step how to do the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes basically have the three sections, right? Like
Yeah.
the iris and the mask and the whites of the eyes. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, for a cartoon animator, it's fairly complex, but it's not, once you get used to it, it's not too bad. So
No,
yeah, like well,
yeah,
I was gonna
I
say,
was gonna say,
like Gary mentioned, go to check out the webinar next month. It'll explain all of that for sure.
and the good thing is too, with the eyes, or with almost every process of character design, it's repetitive. So once you do it once and you know how to do it, the second one is way easier. It's the first one you do. And I'll just give you a quick idea. All the way back in Cartoon Animator 1, right? Or when it was called Crazy Talk Animator, all the way back then, my very first character I created took me 3 months to create.
Oh, man,
now I can create a character from the concept and design to releasing it in the marketplace. I can do it in a day. So practice makes perfect. It really is. It's a repetitive process. The more you do, the better you'll get. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, I remember the pain of having to learn how to develop characters in Crazy Talk Animator too, you know.
Absolutely. And
using Flash and stuff.
Then we hit Crazy Talk Animator 3 and the G3 characters came out. Although the G2 characters, when they first came out, it was a whole new ball game you had to learn again. Now with part 5, it's a whole new ball game learning the SVG characters. But once you learn it, it's easy. And I tell you, the free tutorial that I have out will take you step by step the entire process, and it's all broken down in easy to understand language. But we'll cover some of it next month.
Cool. Got another familiar name here, David Fleeson. I think you've been here for some 3D webinars, and she's definitely to 2D as well. So how do you smooth out the curves for your timing and spacing of the animation? That'll be one for you there, Gary.
Well, we don't have an automated way of doing that. I think iClone has a way that you can smooth out the curves. That if you've got
we have the curve editor in iClone.
You can move the curve and smooth it out. We don't have that. To be perfectly honest, basically it's a manual thing. One thing you can do, let me just close that off. One thing you can do, and I'll just show you really quick. Why don't I open the timeline here?
I mean, I guess you do have the curve editor presets in Cartoon Animator.
Well,
just the preset window there, yeah.
I do, yeah, well, that's right. But the best way I can describe it is if I've got Anita's right hand there, and then at frame 25, I move it up to there, and then it animates like that. If, like, when I animate, if I did that and I went, you know what, I don't like the motion, then you can just take your transform keyframe, bring it back a little bit. That's going to speed the process up, or you can take it right out. That's going to slow the process down. And the other thing that I do is when a character raises their arm, what I tend to do is to go back to the middle and push it forward just that little bit. And then you just get that sort of, I try not to make everything just robotic. And to me, that's a matter of going in and just learning to keyframe all your motions in. That's how I do it.
That was a great 10-second example of how you can create a natural arm movement too.
Well, and you know, sorry to interrupt, but you know what I find that's really good. And one day I'd like to do a webinar maybe on just the nuanced sort of animations and that, because like when I get a character to raise the arm like that, the other thing I would do is at the same time I would make the other arm drop down so that one goes up, one goes down. And the easiest thing to do, practice it in the mirror. That's what I do. Same with lip syncing. To learn lip syncing, or I'll sit there and grab the script and read it out, and I'll act it out and then go back and go, oh, now I can add that into my animation. And you go, oh, that's right, I'm going to turn my head that way or this way. And instead of just getting that robotic movement.
Yeah, if you love dancing in front of the mirror as much as Gary, then it's definitely a
I
solid
do it sometimes
method.
even when I'm not animating.
He's a method animator, method actor, method animator. I mean, there's also the option in Cartoon Animator, you can right click on the keyframe as well, and there's a transition curve, the presets, right? The standard. Like if you right click on the transform keyframe there.
Well, remember on the transform keyframe.
Yeah, like right click on it, or sorry, under the motion track, the transform subtrack.
Oh, under the motion track.
No, yeah, like actually right click on the actual transform keyframe there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like right click. And then there's a transition curve there. So that's what I was talking about with the presets. Yeah. So those are some ones you can use, yeah.
Wow. And you know, the one I use all the time is smooth. But
Yeah,
you know what? We were just saying how you always learn something every day, right? Here I am doing the webinar and I just learned something. I've never done that. Not on a character part. I've only ever done that on a prop movement. So if a prop moves from point A to B, I'll have a smooth transition. I didn't know you could do that. Huh.
Yeah. It's pretty useful sometimes. I mean, it's a very basic version of what they have in iClone, but it's still pretty useful in certain cases for sure.
That's fantastic.
All right. Hopefully answers your question there, David. Anyways, question from Anya. When you create a movement by keyframing, can you save the action as a preset to reuse the animation? Absolutely, you can. Gary, maybe you want to show how to save the wave that you did there? I know it's not much of a
would you
animation,
do that but... Well, you know something funny? I don't normally save and reuse my animations. I tend to animate everything fresh every time, so I've never done it. But is it just a matter of using the collect clip?
Well, yeah, you just click and drag in the collect clip track, and then you right click.
Right.
Yeah.
So if, in other words, then as Anita raises her arm like that, if we hold down the left mouse button and spread on the collect clip line, and we cover all the frames that we want to cover, if you right click it and put add to action menu.
Yeah, you can export it. You can add to the action menu. You can do whatever, right? There's a number of different options there.
And then hit wave. Then once we get rid of that motion and we go back, so if we go to here, if we click on the action menu and click wave, well, yeah, it'll do it. Oh, there you go. See,
yeah, and
again,
then
I've never done that.
Really?
Wow, okay. Wow. It's like, I should have attended this webinar. It sounds like a really
diggity dog. Look at that.
I've never done, you know what? Every time if I animate an animation that's like 3,000, 4,000 frames long, I never reuse an animation. I just go through and I either apply a motion or I keyframe it all. It's never occurred to me to do that, and I just learned something.
Well, the great thing about that, since it's a wave, I mean, you can just loop it over and over and over again. Exactly. She can be waving indefinitely, right?
That's right. You can just have it, just keep repeating it. That's so cool. Yeah, I just learned something.
There you go. All right. So I hope that answers your question there, Anya. Thank you for the really good question. Next one's from Cliff here. How do you know if the character you want to purchase has spring bones? I bought a lot of characters along the way. Can they get spring bones? You can apply spring bones to any character manually. I think.
Hang on, I don't think that's the question. Oh,
Cliff's question.
How do you know the character you want to purchase? Yeah, because the question is, how do you know if they have spring bones? Is that correct?
Yeah. So I was going to answer that. I think.
Oh, sorry.
I think isn't there like an icon in the marketplace that shows spring bone or something?
Yeah, as a developer, when we develop a character, you actually have to tick a box that says that this character has color management, this character has spring bones, stuff like that. So presumably when you go to purchase, it will give you that information.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure that when you actually look at the character in the marketplace or the content store for sure, it'll have the
You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Well, let's have a look at Anita in the marketplace. There we go. G3 actor, props, non-exportable. Now, it doesn't say there.
Does she have spring bone?
Absolutely. Yeah, there we go. I attribute spring bones. Now, I have vector. It may be that I haven't actually nominated that in the behind the scenes. I might not have done that because I did miss some of the early characters because I didn't know that that was an option.
What are the spring bones she has? I didn't notice it.
In her hair.
Oh, the hair, right. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
She has spring bones in her hair.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'm just taking a look at a couple of characters here in the content store. Not sure if it's going to show it or not,
But another interesting answer to Cliff's question is, I bought a lot of characters along the way. Can they get spring bones? Yes, you can add your own spring bones in. Absolutely.
Okay, so I just looked up. You can add your own spring bones. I just looked up one of your characters in the content store, Gary, and it does show if you go to the chat window and click on that one, guys, it'll show the character Tony, and there's an actual close to the bottom. There's an icon that shows spring. I'll just share my screen real quick here.
Yeah, I think
you can reclaim.
I think I modeled Tony off your body shape, didn't I?
Tony, yeah. Hey, Tony. Hey, where's my bagel?
Yeah, Tony works in the warehouse and he's a bit dodgy.
There's my William says, there's my dad. Where have you been? So if you click on that guy, you go down to the bottom of the page there. You can see attribute where Garry was mentioning. It also has vector. It also has G3 360, which means it has the G3 360 head, and it also has a spring bone. Is Tony's spring bone his belly, or what's the spring there?
Yes, Tony. Here, let me show you. Have we got a couple of seconds that I can show?
Absolutely, I want to see. It reminds me of that Simpsons where Homer goes into the test, the test, and he slaps his belly and he says, "Ooh, look at that blubber fly!"
Yeah, or look at that flubber fly.
Nurse, cancel my 4 o'clock.
He does have spring bones in his belly. I'll show you to you. And the interesting thing with the spring bones in Tony's belly is that they go side to side like a capital letter Z, right?
Yeah, perfect. I can see it.
Right? Yeah, that took me
That's
a while
hilarious.
to work out what's the best way to add spring bones. But by adding them in like that, as the letter Z, like that, what happens is, so I got to move everything around. What happens is when we go to preview on the body, right? Let me grab this. I've hit preview. Why are you not letting me grab his torso?
Spring editor preview.
Yeah, it's just not.
Yeah, you click preview, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've hit preview, but for some strange reason, it's not allowing me to grab Tony's torso.
I think you had different.
The hips. Oh no, it's not letting me grab the hip either. Now, why is it doing that? It's got to be a me issue. Anyway, all right. Well, I'll show you this way. Don't worry.
Just give him like a preset animation. Let him.
That's exactly right. There's always
jump up and down with joyfully.
Yeah, it's easy. What we'll do is because I've got so many screens open here on my screen. Here we go. If we go to motion, 2D motion, we'll go to all motions. And I'm going to tell you, guys, if you're looking for a pack to buy the Human Motions cartoon moves. It is the #1 pack in the store. It's the pack that I use more than anything. And the second one is Professions. Buy that one. It's excellent. So if we go to walk cycle now for Tony, when we apply the walk cycle, right? You can see
it bouncing, yeah.
Yeah, you can see that. Oh, good on you guys. I put the wrong one on there. Right, when we put it on there, you can see he gets that nice. Let's move in on him. Let's get in on him.
Enhance.
There we go. And you get that nice little wobble in his belly.
Yeah, that's great. Fantastic.
You're probably going to notice it a lot more if I add a run. Here we go. I don't know how this is going to work because his belly is quite big. There we go. Yeah, he moves too fast. But yeah, no, Tony's got the wobble in his belly so that he walks. I try to look, spring bones are in all my characters now, and you can even go back and add them to old Cartoon Animator 4 characters, bring them into Cartoon Animator 5, and you can add spring bones. It's brilliant.
That's a really creative use of the spring bone, actually. I love that. Just, getting the belly moving for sure.
Well, yeah, and you know what? Just the thing that I love about it, particularly on Anita, is that when you have a look at where we go back to Anita for a second. Garry, where's Anita? When you go to Anita, the thing that I love about it is I break the hair up into smaller sections and then apply spring bones to it, because that way what happens is that the hair will move all in different parts and you can give different parameters to the hair. And you'll notice, just like Tony's body, right? Where are we? Hair, preset, face. Just like Tony's body, you'll see that the spring bones in the hair, these ones go diagonal, where these ones go straight along the line of the hair. That way, these ones are affected by gravity. So when you hit preview and you move her hair this way particularly, you can see the hair at the bottom gets that nice sag and bounce into it.
There's even those little bones on the top there with the separate strands. Yeah, I didn't notice that. That's awesome.
Exactly. And it's all just a matter of trying to get that subtle movement in that makes the character, as I look, when I was doing the webinar, as I said, and I really mean it, Reallusion created these cutout puppets, but then they do everything in their power to try to make that puppet not move like a cutout puppet anymore, but to move like it's hand-drawn. And I just love that so much.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that detail for sure. Let's move to the next one from another one from Tige. Apologies if I'm butchering your name there. But what's the best way to animate a long dress or doctor robes that reach all the way below the knee? You can also use spring bones for that too.
Absolutely. There's always been the problem of, oh, here we go. I got a really good example for you. Now, this is going to look like a complete mess when you see it on screen, okay? But this character, my character Jane Danger, was an experiment that I did on exactly this, because previous to this, we'd never really got characters with long jackets or anything like that in a convincing way. I won't go into the detail here for the simple reason that this could be a whole webinar on its own. But if you go to my to my YouTube channel, I have a video called An Introduction to Jane Danger, which will show you exactly how all these bones, you can see the amount of bones in Jane's dress, right? She's got heaps and heaps of bones. But if you go and have a look at the YouTube video called An Introduction to Jane Danger, you'll see how it works. This character works so well, and it's because I spent so much time just on the skirt. Where's the walk cycle here? So you can get the character, right? And the way this character is designed, I know you're looking at it and you go, oh yeah, but her leg comes out the front of a dress and I don't want it to. This is the whole point of this character, is that she's got all these spring bones in her dress so that you can bring them all out and keyframe them like that, so that you can cover the leg up and it will look like it's all one dress. And go and have a look at the video on my YouTube channel. We'll explain all of that. It can absolutely be done now. It's really easy to do.
Excellent. And our helpers here just put the URL for that video in the chat. So if you guys want to take a look at that video that Gary just mentioned.
Guys. See, my people look after me.
They're on the ball.
Oh yeah, they're all out there looking after me. I love it. Okay, what's your next one?
Vicky, if I take a vector cartoon picture, can I turn it into an actor, but also use the spring bones? Because both don't seem to work. Only one or the other. I tried with a fish. Absolutely, you can. I think we just continue on the theme of spring bones. You can add spring bones to anything you want. It's just a matter of going into composer mode, basically writing your own or designing your own spring layout, and you're bing bang boom, there you go, pretty much, right?
Can I just say something that might help Vicky again? Sure. There's a whole section on this on the free tutorial that I wrote about building and rigging your characters. There's a whole section in there on spring bones that will help you with that. That'll answer that question. It'll show you step by step how to do it.
This was on your YouTube channel as well?
No. If Vicky wants to send me an email,
okay,
I can send it to her. It's a document, step by step document.
Okay, cool. And that's Garry Pye at reallusion.com.
Correct.
All right, Julio, you're going to get bombarded.
Yeah, do it. Keep
all right. That's a challenge, everyone. Timothy is asking, is it best for total newbies like me to add the movement across the scene first, then do arm and legs movements after, then do other things sort of one at a time? Because you can keep readjusting the parts one at a time. There's so many moving parts. Yeah.
You know what? This is a great question. This is a really good question, because it comes down to what order do you animate in. Like I said, not like traditional animation where you've got to do it all at once. You can do a bit, go back, do a bit. This is my process, right? First thing I do is I do the lip syncing, because that way you don't have the head moving around. Get all your lip syncing done right first. Then I block out the movements. So I'll have the character move across the screen. It doesn't matter whether you add the motion first or add the transform first. If anything, I would probably add the transform first normally. So if I, like on that animation that I showed you before, I would normally have the character standing there, move across the screen, then add the motions onto it so that I can see how many I need to add to get them to stop where I want. Then I'd block out the head movement and that type of thing. Then I do eye sprites, blinking, eye movement. Then I'll go back and I'll just tweak all the motions so that you do all your custom settings of the detail settings of the face and that sort of thing. And the very last thing I do, and I don't know if this has to be done last or whether this is just me because I was through the beta program and this was the process that I did it with, so I stuck to it. I always do my hand gestures last. I don't do hand gestures until everything else is finished. Then I go back and do hand gestures. But that's my process. You're right. There are so many moving parts You're absolutely right. But once you learn to read the timeline, it's like being Neo in the Matrix. All the green writing comes up and you just learn to read it. It's like music.
Yeah, honestly, that is an excellent question, Timothy, and that's an excellent answer, Gary. I think one of the biggest challenges for me when I started out animating was kind of like developing my own workflow. You know, there'd be times like where I'd do the body animation first, and then the head animation, I'd be like, the head's moving around.
You
It's so
can't do it all at
frustrating.
once.
Yeah, you say
Yeah.
you save so much time by really developing your own workflow. Everyone has a different workflow, like slight variations, but what Gary described is essentially the same workflow that I have. There's certain things where it's more efficient to do this first and do that second, and you can use these the next step to kind of complement the animations that you've already done.
Yes.
Start from big and go to small almost all the time. But yeah, that's a really excellent. I think that's probably the best piece of advice you'll get in this webinar is just what Gary said, is working, because it'll speed up your workflow so much and make it so much more efficient. Just to get that workflow.
Because when you very first start, the impulse is there to make sure that like the first 50 frames are all polished. That's what it's going to look like. Don't do that. If your animation has a guy walking out of the door, jumping across the fence and running away, don't worry about getting all the animation right for each section. Block it all out to begin with, and then start to refine it. It's more like, it's more like sculpting, where you're just chipping away all the little pieces until eventually it all looks right.
Yeah, don't chip out the small pieces first. Take the big parts out and get the shapes first, and then
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good comparison for sure. Okay, well, let's move on because we got a few more questions for sure here. Question from Alan. I love your teaching, Gary. Would you do a Q&A on Discord? Because it is dead to me.
Well, not so much a Q&A on Discord, but I'm happy doing, if we get the chance to do more webinars, you can ask questions. And if you've got any questions, just email me direct. And if I can't answer them, I'll put you in touch with someone who can. So we'll get your questions answered. That's easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can we make sure that we read Joe's comment? It seems like a really good comment.
Joe, okay. I'm a longtime CTA user since version 1 and have purchased many characters by Gary. And each one is fabulous and beautifully designed. Thank you. I missed
the last bit. What was the last bit you said, Kai?
Thank you.
What's the next one?
Fabulous and beautiful. They're not talking about you, though. They're talking about the characters, right?
What's the next question?
Oh, from Renee, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, next one's from Renee. I want to be part of the marketplace. Will you do a webinar on getting assets uploaded? Renee, we do have some tutorials on how to upload your own assets to the marketplace.
I can help Renee with that too. Renee, just send me a message, send me an email, and I'll help you. That's easy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I get email notifications every time someone creates a developer account at Reallusion, and it's like bam, bam, bam. Some days it's just like bam, bam, bam. Everyone's uploading their information.
And again, the good news there is once you've done it once, it's repetitive. It's really easy.
Yeah. Okay, anonymous attendee again. In the scene that you worked with, or other similar scenes, the CTA make it possible to have Anita do things like sit on the couch or walk through a door.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
It's very, very easy. And because everything's layered, like if you want a character to walk through the door, even though it's two-dimensional and it looks flat, you can have the door there. Have we got time for me to just show a quick example?
When walking through a door, sure.
Oh, no, I won't walk them through the door, but what I'll do is I'll just load a scene here. Where are we? Content, scene. Give me 1 second and I will just load a scene. Oops. Let me just load a scene to, here we go. Just to give you an example, because there's one that I'm working on this morning and it will give an exact example of this. Here we go. Let me just drag that into here. Okay, this is a scene that I'm working on at the moment, and it will give you a really good example of what you can do. So let me just scroll out a second. Okay, so you've got the scene here, which looks perfectly flat. Okay, and like I was talking about with the Z-axis, okay, if we move Anita up a little bit, okay, there we go. By having her reducing her Z-axis, we can have her standing outside the window, right? Then she can move along. go back a little bit further so that she's behind the door. We can have her move along. You can have the door open. Then Anita can, by increasing her Z-axis value, she can walk through the door. But where it gets really cool is on the door on the side here. When she approaches the door here, right? Put her in front of it. When she approaches the door here, if you've got this door and you open it, Anita can walk through the door so that you can't see her on the other side of the door. And the reason for that is what you've got is an extra layer here that sits over the top. So it's all just basically sleight of hand, you know what I mean? See, that one sits in front of that when you look at it in the 3D view, and she's sandwiched in between them. And so much of the animating in Cartoon Animator is genuinely just like sleight of hand. That's all it is. The end result gets there, but how you get there doesn't matter. That's why I said, don't ask if the software can do it, just make the software do it.
Ask not what the software can do
Surely.
for you.
Yeah,
Ask what you can do for the software.
Look, I get messaged all the time. Oh, can it do this? Can it do that? I go, just make it do it. It can do it. Just make it.
All right. Anyways, okay. Next, let's go through the next ones here. We'll probably cut it off at an hour Q&A, guys.
No, that's fine.
Just
I'll
so you
talk
know.
all day. You know what I'm like.
We got about 20 more minutes left, so
That's
until we
okay.
get to that point. But
it's probably also 1 o'clock in the morning for you, so that's fine.
oh no, it's only like 9:30 p.m. It's all good. Yeah. Okay, we'll go to the next one here. Anyways, if I buy the Anita character and change her features to make my own, can I use the character in my videos, on t-shirts, etc.? I don't understand the copyright here and just want to make overstep. So that's
Yeah. Okay. So basically the way it works like this: anything that you buy from the marketplace, in particular, like I'm speaking for myself here, but anything you buy from me, you're welcome to sell and commercialize in any way. So if you want to put it on t-shirts and coffee mugs, if you want to make a cartoon and put it on YouTube and you make money out of it, you can do that. The only thing that you're not allowed to do is to sell the original files. So Anita there is what's called a CTB actor file. You can't sell that file. You can't sell the original file of her. And to be honest, if you don't want to really irritate a lot of the developers, don't take their work, change it a little bit, and then try and pass it off as your own. They're not real big on that either. But if you want to take her and put her on a t-shirt or a greeting card or something like that, absolutely, go for your life.
Yeah, and the same goes for Illusion content as well. I used to actually be the manager of the marketplace way back in the day. And yeah, way back.
A long time ago.
Yeah, so if you want to, like, use all the content, all the characters, all the props or whatever, they're all royalty free. So if you want to use them, feel free to use them commercially in your programs, your videos or whatever. However, you cannot resell them in other marketplaces. So just be aware of that. Like, you can't go to Envato or something like that and resell it as your own character. So that's a really important distinction there. Okay, let's go to the next one from Renee. Sorry, I want to be part of the second marketplace or 2D marketplace, but don't know how to get assets uploaded. So I think
send me an email, Renee, and I'll sort you out with that.
Yeah, we mentioned that a bit earlier.
I'll sort that out.
Mark asks, what is the process for creating one complete cartoon? Would you use a single project or multiple projects? Do I get that?
Do not do it as a single project. Do not do it that way. You'll drive yourself crazy. Do all individual projects. If I've got a bigger project, if I've got different scenes within the one project, do each scene as an individual one, finish it, send it out, and then edit it in your favorite editing software. I use Pinnacle, whatever you want to use. String it all together, and then you can add in your music and sound effects and all that sort of stuff. Or you can even do post-production by exporting it as an MOV file, and then you can add post-production with effects in things like HitFilm and After Effects. Yeah,
it's so funny. I've had many, over the years, I've had many people say like, my project is running so slow, and it's like, what's happening? Why is things just like crashing and stuff like that? And they send me their project. It's like 1 gigabyte, like 10 minute, like a 10-minute project. You're like, what are you thinking, buddy? Yeah. Anyways, don't do that. Honestly, even like some projects are like 5-second, 10-second clip projects, and then you just mix them all together. That's or what I do. Combine them all together later on.
Not only that, but any program can crash, or your computer can crash, or whatever. When you do it, save everything in sections, and you'll save yourself massive headaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's another excellent piece of advice there for everyone who's starting out. This question from Mark here. Oh, that was the same one. Okay, didn't.
Next one.
Okay, Nandor Toth. Sounds like a Star Wars name.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds like...
Yeah. Will there be a webinar where you will show how to make several scenes with several actors? We don't have it planned yet, but
I don't think that's necessary, because like in the last question, we just covered the idea of making several scenes. You do it all individually, and with several actors, the process is exactly the same as putting one actor in there. You go, if I'm doing a scene with 2 actors, first thing I do is add all the lip syncing in so it all matches, then animate one character, get them to do all their stuff, and then you animate the second character basically responding to the motions of the first character.
yeah, I was going to just mention that exact same thing, because we one of my favorite webinars we did in iClone back in the day was have like a conversation scene between 2 people, and all we did was just talk about the camera movements, the camera switching, and the lip syncing process, and the look ats and the facial expressions. And you can spend way more than an hour even just talking about that. Exactly. And it's just it was like a simple 10-second scene or something. So yeah, I think we can probably have that sometime in the future. I think a lot of people would find that interesting for sure. Another anonymous question. Do I keep my rights to my cartoons in the marketplace? I have 10,000 cartoons. Well, great for you. Yeah, I mean, so as we just mentioned, when you do publish your cartoons or images or characters or whatnot in the marketplace, they do fall under the DRM protection, and they do fall under the EULA, which means that, like we just mentioned, people are able to use them in commercial projects, but they're not able to resell them. So just be aware of that. Okay.
Can I make a suggestion? Yep. To anonymous attendee, if you're serious that you have 10,000 cartoons and you're here watching this because you're interested in it, with 10,000 cartoons, your main interest should be whether you can make money from it. And I'm telling you, if you really do have 10,000 cartoons and their quality, you can make amazing money in the marketplace. I've got 5,000 individual items in the marketplace, which is half of what you're saying you've got, and I make a living doing it. So trust me, you can make money doing that.
Yeah, I was going to say you'll make probably like 2 times a regular person's salary just selling your cartoons.
If you can get that in there, if you're fair income, if you're real about that, you'll get that in there. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a lot of customers on the marketplace and users and stuff.
Oh, so, yeah. I'm telling you guys, the marketplace is a gold mine. I'm not, and you know what? I'm not trying to sell the marketplace because I don't get anything out of that. If anything, if I encourage you to go to the marketplace and sell your stuff, all I'm doing is creating more competition for myself. So, you know, that doesn't even make sense for me to do that. But I'm telling you, it's a gold mine. It's a gold mine.
Absolutely. All right, let's go. We got about 20 more questions here. Timothy, what does G3 stand for? And what is the difference between that and is it G4?
We don't have G4.
Yeah.
Okay, we have there were the earlier G3 characters like in Cartoon Animator 4, we've got the G3 characters, but there's no G4. The G3 characters came along and moved into Cartoon Animator 5, but there's still G3 characters. We haven't updated that term yet.
Yeah, and I apologize on behalf of Reillusion. Sometimes the naming conventions of the character versions can be a little bit confusing. Yeah. But G3 is where we stand right now.
You've got G1, G2, and G3. G1 was just basic flat movement. G2 gave us the 8 different views of the character. There's not a lot of people using the G2s anymore, and that's only because they were just too darn hard to make. And now you've got the G3 characters. But the G3 characters can be flat or they can have the 360 head.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's the 360 head that's another icon that's indicated.
I love the next question.
From DeAndre Wheeler.
I love
My son really likes stick figures right now. Can this software help him create and animate stick figure characters?
Yes!
Yeah, absolutely.
I am a huge stick figure animation fan. Go to my YouTube channel, and I've actually got characters in the marketplace of stick figures that I do. Stick figures are the best. It's the best way to learn animating. When I was 10 years old, when I was in high school, every book I owned had flick cartoons in the corners where I used to animate stick figures. And yeah, you can create stick figures with this. Absolutely. Send me an email and I'll send you some links that you're going to love.
I think one of my favorite cartoons that actually originally got me into animation was when I was in high school. and it was one on YouTube where it was like some stick figure doing like some martial arts and like kicking ass on a bunch of other stick figures, just randomly going through this kind of like almost like video game scene.
And he was on the desktop. He was on the desktop of the computer, and he was fighting all the different icons. You know what? When I started with 2D animation, one of the very first programs I used was called Pivot Stick Animator, or Pivot, Pivot. And I used that, and that's where I got started, was doing stick figure animations. And the earliest stuff that I did with Cartoon Animator was also stick figures. So yeah, no, send me an email, DeAndre. I got some great stuff I'll send you.
Stick figures for life.
I love them.
Right.
I love stick figures.
All right, next. Oh, so Renee's clarifying. I was about 4 minutes late.
The next one.
That's okay. We'll forgive you. 4 minutes late, I guess.
We've answered that one.
Yeah. Anya is asking, when you create a movement by keyframing, can you save the action as a preset and reuse the animation? I think we answered that. Anya, if you didn't see it before, we provide that answer. Yeah. Don Evelyn, have you ever found the need to create scenes with foreshortening of a character? For example, the character reaching out towards the camera with their hand. Very good question.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing that we're talking about with doing all your individual scenes. You can create cut scenes all the time. Actually, when I created the ad for last year's cartoon, Animation at Work cartoon, if you send me an email, I'll send you a link to it. I actually did a shot there where a guy's picked up a mobile phone, and then it cuts to a shot of him looking at the mobile phone and scrolling through it with his thumb, and that's just a close-up, and then it cuts back to the character. And you just do all that with props, and you can add bones into it. So the answer to that is yes. Send me an email, I'll send you a link.
Yeah, very good question, Don.
Yes, well.
Because that's a challenge, I think, for most people. Like, I mean, in 3D, obviously, it's very easy to have a character reach out towards the camera, but in 2D, you have to kind of simulate the perspective. So it's a little bit different.
Sometimes it just requires more drawing, that's all.
Yeah, there's ways you can do it with scaling and like you said, freeform deformation. You talked about that earlier. But it's a lot more complicated than with a 3D software for sure. So
the answer to that question is yes. The next one, can we animate alphabets or numbers?
Oh, yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, you can animate anything. You can animate your grandma if you want.
Anything.
Yeah.
That's Don's reference to his last question. So we've
so we'll just skip by that. So thanks for that link though, Don. Anonymous asks, do you have any workflow recommendations to handle an animation of 8 to 10 minutes?
I've never attempted an animation for 8 to 10 minutes. I think the longest I've ever attempted was about 3 minutes, and then my head explodes. But
I've done 8 to 10 minutes before.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've done half an hour.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to do a 10-minute pilot, an actual animation. I'd love to do it. I don't have the time. But really, we answered this question before as well, because the workflow, as I said, is just a matter of blocking out. If I was going to do 8 to 10 minutes, I'd make damn sure that I storyboarded the whole thing first, so that you knew every shot, and then I would handle every single shot as its own project and block out all your movements, and then just slowly start to refine everything.
Yeah, Freddie mentions Gary's going to be looking to hire an admin to answer all these new emails. I think I kind of agree with you there, Freddie. That's going to be wow, you get bombarded.
That's all right. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like Gary just said about Anonymous's question there, though, I think because I've done like half-hour videos myself, to do with like corporate training and other things like that project I've worked on, and I think that it all comes down to just kind of aggregating it together in the end. And storyboarding very important. Yeah,
absolutely. If you're going to do 8 to 10 minutes, you better have really good preparation.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Can you make animated GIFs with CTA5? Yeah, yes, absolutely you can. We have the GIF. So that's okay, go for it. Yeah.
No, that's what I was saying. I had it open.
Oh, I thought you were going to show an animated GIF.
I just realized what you're doing. My fault. Yes, I had it open on my screen. Look, GIF.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, the answer
is yes. GIF, by the way, Gary. It's not GIF. It's
no, get out. It's a hard G like Gary. My name is not GIF.
They have everything upside down in Australia.
Gary, come on.
Don't make any sense.
What's the next one?
We should take a vote. Who says GIF and who says GIF?
No, it's GIF, or I'm not holding any more webinars.
All right. Question from Joe. I'm a CTA pipeline user on a Mac, and I'm buying a PC, so I can use CTA5. Great. Can I download all the content I purchased over the years for PC? Oh, good question, Joe. So transferring the content from the Mac version to the PC version. Oh man, that's a good question.
Okay, before can I jump in?
Yep.
The best person to speak to get a confirmed official answer on this would be Christopher Meyer White, because he's a Mac user. He moved across to PC. He will know the answer to that. I'm confident that the answer is yes, that you don't have to go back and buy it all again. I'm
Yeah,
confident that.
I don't see
But
why you would. Yeah.
no, but Joe, if you send me an email, I'll put you in touch with Chris Meyer White. He's already done this process. He will give you the answer as yes or no. I'm not a Mac user, so I can't tell you, but Chris will tell you. Easy.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure that you'd be able to
Yeah.
just download it for free
Yeah, me
anyways.
too.
And
Me too.
if not, then contact either Gary or I, and
Yeah.
we'll get it done for you for sure. That's
Yeah.
just, yeah, you
Because
it's
you
ridiculous. You
that wouldn't be right if you had to go back and rebuy it all.
Yeah, absolutely wouldn't be right. Yeah. All right. Renee, same question, might be phrased better. I was thinking of producing high quality photographs with layers to make scenes that I could sell in the 2D marketplace, but would like some instruction on how that's done. I can layer them in my PSD editor, but how to get them ready and properly labeled for the 2D marketplace.
I have that covered. If you send me an email, I've got all that covered in, I think, 2 tutorials actually. So I'll sort Renee out. That's easy.
Talk to
The
my
answer
man
is yes,
Gary
by the
over
way.
there.
The answer is yes.
Yes, indeed. Okay, question from Manuel. I noticed your earlier characters had a cartoon outline to define the character, which is really helpful. Do you ever use that on the newer characters?
Okay, my earliest series of characters, the very first ones that I created was a series called Little Mates that had a black outline. And the reason for that was because I used to draw everything on paper first and then scan it all into the computer and then color it on the computer. And eventually I just found, and it came about because the early characters, when you were trying to rig elbow joints, it all came down to elbow joints. That if a character had an outline, when the elbow joint moved, it often didn't match up. You could get it to match up, but it just took so long to try and match everything up. With the vector characters, because it's only a color overlap, I find that it just doesn't need to be quite as accurate to work. And the other thing is, in my opinion, I just feel that the vector characters, when you put them into most backgrounds, not all, but the type of backgrounds that I create and use, that they blend into the background better than actors with a black outline. It's a personal preference, but yeah, my characters don't have black outlines, but you'll find plenty of characters in the marketplace that are really good quality that do have an outline.
Yeah, good point. There's definitely different styles of characters, just like in any 2D. I mean, different types of animators, different styles.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just good to get familiar with your style and how your style of character would animate in Cartoon Animator. So
this next one's an easy one to answer to.
Yeah, so Iqbal is asking, what is the right way of adding bones to a prop? I get confused about root bone and other bones.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Confused the hell out of me when I was starting to. The easiest way for you to get an answer for this, rather, because we're not going to have time here to go through this, but the easiest way for you to get an answer to this is to post that exact question on the Cartoon Animator users Facebook group, and people will jump all over it, including myself, and we'll get you sorted out and get an answer. That one's really easy.
Okay, Andrew, can this software use other creative software like Photoshop or Corel Painter? Yes,
Yep.
Absolutely. There's a pipeline that goes into Photoshop, Photopea, anything you want, Illustrator, etc. Yeah, there's information online about that. Alan asks, Gary, how do you feel about 3D? Watch what you say there, young man.
You know what? It's not that I like 2D or 3D. It's that I like animation, right? I just like animating. I like drawing, so that to me is 2D, but I've played with iClone and Character Creator, and I've made animations with it, and I love it. The problem is there's no way for me to make money out of it. Okay, I don't have any skill in making 3D objects. I can't, my mind doesn't work in 3D. I can't sculpt or anything like that. So for me, I was able to draw cartoons and I put them in the marketplace and they sold. So it seems silly not to continue with that. But I love 3D. I love it. Actually, I find 3D, like yes. I've got a 14-year-old daughter, right? And when we sit down and we watch.
Is she 3D?
She is, ironically. But when we sit down and watch movies together, like kids' movies, like Pixar movies and stuff like that, she sits down to watch the movie. I sit down like I'm in the front row of a university class because it's an education where you're learning, camera movement and blocking and all that. I learned so much from watching the 3D stuff that you just translate into 2D.
Absolutely. Okay, we got a few more questions here from Jen Fuentes.
Oh, nice.
Gary, so then can one make a character disappear using the keyframes and changing the opacity, bringing it down?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or say make an extremity disappear with the keyframes and changing the opacity of that extremity between keyframes.
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely, you can, because if we've got the character there and we go to SVG and we've got the body, and let's say, for instance, we take the mouth, we just make the mouth invisible, and where are we? Body, eyes.
I think you have to select the actual mouth sprite, probably.
Yeah, there we go. So you did it with the eyes. Did I select the mouth? Right, there we go. Is the mouth highlighted? No, it's all right. I'll show you with the eyes. See, the eyes are highlighted, and when I hit the opacity down, the eyes will disappear. And the same thing should happen with the eyebrows. Where's eyebrows? Body, hair, brows. If we take the brows down, we can make them disappear. So yeah, you can do that with individual parts as well. And then it's interesting with Anita. With Anita, if you go to the jumper, okay, and you make it invisible, this was an early character that I was still learning a lot, right? You can't make the jumper invisible and see underneath it. However, if you take my character Melvin, you can take, can we do this? I'll just bring up Melvin for 2 seconds because it answers this really, really clearly. Custom, that's not scenes, characters. Where's actors? Actors, human, me, 2Ds, where's Melvin? Right. With the character Melvin, what I did, he was a really good test. I got to tell you, it took me a long time to do this. It's not, too easy to do. It's a lot of forward thinking. But with this character, I designed him in a way that with his clothing, right, we can take the shorts. Where's the short sleeve? Take the short sleeve shirt, make it invisible. Now he's got his long sleeve shirt underneath. Then if you take the long sleeve shirt, you make it invisible. All right, you've got to swap the sprites over on the arm, which is not too hard to do. If you swap the sprites over on the arm, then you can have him with no shirt on. And if you want to, and you want to get a little bit, we'll do this for Kai. If we go to his pants, we can make his pants visible, right? Then same thing, you just bring the legs back because they've got different sprites associated with them, right? Go to the shanks. You're welcome. Right, we can do that, and then you just take his belt and make his belt invisible. You do it with the shoes, and yeah, you can have it so that all of your character parts can be transparent or whatever. And you can, with his shirt, you can even have it translucent so that you can see through his shirt, so that he can be wearing some sort of if we go to the short sleeve shirt, which we can have it semi-transparent, so he can be wearing some sort of a sexy little tank top in his underwear. So there you go.
You did that all for my benefit, yeah.
Actually, it's weird. I look at that, and that really reminds me of Kai. I don't know why. Sorry.
I've gained a few pounds since then.
Kai's got things to do.
Yeah. Okay, let's whip out I think we got about 10 more questions left here. Let's whip through those, and then I think we'll be all right. Scott asks, Gary, do you do storyboarding before animation?
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't.
I think...
You know what I do? Because you can go back through your animation and you can make changes as you go, I start with an overall idea in my head of what I want to do, and then I start. But a lot of my animation comes down to audio. When I apply a voice, that voice and what's happening in that sound directs a lot of the way the character is going to move.
Right.
But okay. I can't be bothered storyboarding. I don't have time.
All right. Next question. Movies? Is this a question about
I love them,
movies? Yeah, I love them as well. Yeah. Long ones, short ones, tall ones, fat ones.
I assume the question's asking, can you make movies with this? Absolutely. Just do it scene by scene.
Yeah. One step at a time.
And there's the next question as well. How do you change from one scene to another? You make each scene as a project and you export it as like an MP4, and then link them all together in a chain in your favorite editing software, and then add your music and sound effects over the top.
Good. Yeah, that question was from Vicky, by the way.
Yep. Craig.
Craig asking any upcoming competitions. I think you'd probably know about this more than I would in terms of 2D.
I do.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it yet, but there's a little secret competition coming up later in the year. Not the cartoon, not the animation at work competition that normally comes up, but I'm working with Reillusion at the moment to maybe do just a smaller cartoon just for fun to give everybody a reason to animate. And I'm working with Declan Walsh from ZAxis on this one, and it's really cool. It's something different. It's really cool.
Excellent. All right, there you have it, folks. Keep your eyes open on the.
Yeah, there's a scoop. That's the first time I've talked about this. That's a scoop.
Question from Mark: when I create a new character from my drawings, am I creating a G3 character in CTA5? Yeah.
Okay, if you break that character down into individual parts, so the neck is one part, the forearm is one part, the arm, the forearm, then the arm, the chest. If you break it down into all individual parts, then you can rig that character together with all individual bits and add bones to it, and you can do that. Or you can just drop your character in. Say, for instance, Melvin on screen there was just a solid drawing. You could just add bones into him and get a rudimentary animation from that character as well. But it's better to break them up.
Going through the next questions here from Tige again. Where can I get info on costing for animating mostly 2D? It's a pretty loaded question.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, Gary mentioned Cartoon Animator by itself, $149, and it pretty much covers all the functionality is available with the basic version. So your 150 is basically everything you need.
Yep.
Andrew, can this software use any other creative software like Photoshop? I think that's the same question from before that we answered.
We covered the next one as well.
Yeah. Oh, so no, this one's a bit different. I think Jen kind of
no, that's the same one.
Elaborated here.
Okay.
Using the keyframe and changing the opacity, bringing it down. So I think she's talking about fading out the limb as opposed to making it disappear.
No, I don't think so. I think once you change the opacity, it changes it permanently, I think. I don't think you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, no, that's a really really question. No,
I've never really faded out a character.
I'm going to say no. I'm confident. I'm confident to say no, but it was Jenny, wasn't it?
Jenny. Yeah.
Right. I'm confident to say no, but it would pay you to post that question on the Cartoon Animator users Facebook page in case I'm wrong or somebody worked out a way to do it.
So I know. Well, actually, you can here. Okay, so, yeah, there's different opacity frames, or sorry, there's. So if you go into a character, every character has an opacity track. A level of sub tracks that are called opacity.
Yeah, you're right.
So
on the shank there.
Yeah.
On the shank there, you've got the opacity.
Yeah. Now, how you?
No, it doesn't.
That's the whole character, but you should be able to do it like individually because they do have individual tracks. How you do that? Is it done? I think maybe it's done through the sprite editor.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah, probably through the sprite editor. I think.
You know what? Send it over to the Cartoon Animator Facebook group. We'll get onto it.
Yeah, Jenny, I think you probably just go to the sprite editor and like change the opacity down to 0 at that point. See if it puts a keyframe, because that L_O track there, that's going to be your opacity track for that specific body part.
Yeah.
I know you can do it for the whole character, like Gary just showed you for the whole character, but
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Because there's the opacity right there in the sprite editor, right?
No,
so
that's still bringing up the opacity even there. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, but is it showing up as a keyframe in the track?
Yes. Look.
Oh, it does. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Wow. Yeah. I just learned something else. I got to host more of these. I can get smart at this program. So
good question, Jen. Yeah.
Yeah, well done. So there's the right arm. Okay. We're looking at this part here. There's the right arm opacity meter. When we go to here, if I take the opacity in the sprite editor and I drop it down to 0, it affects that. Look at that. That.
Well, hot diggity dog.
I didn't know that. Now it seems to affect Because I did the arm though, it affects the forearm as well. Interestingly. See? I didn't set it to affect the hand, but it affected the hand, even though the hand opacity is still at 100. So it must affect.
Maybe it goes down the hierarchy.
It goes down the hierarchy. But the answer is yes. Oh, that's really cool. All right.
Yeah, good to know.
I learned something else. Next one.
All right. Can we set a price in the market for how much we want to sell them for?
Yep.
I think that's talking about content. Absolutely.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
whatever you want to sell it for, $1 million, you can sell it for $1 million.
And can I give you one tip? Don't overprice yourself, and I'll tell you why. Just use the McDonald's cheeseburger analogy. Okay, McDonald's sells a cheeseburger for like $1 or whatever, but they sell 1 million of them. Better to sell 1 million burgers at $1 each than one burger at $50. Sure, that's how I do it. If you have a look at my stuff in the marketplace, it's not expensive. I don't think it's expensive. I've got packs at the moment that have got 4 backgrounds in there for $10. You're getting them for $2.50 each. If I was selling that in the real world, you'd go, that's ridiculous. I can't make any money. But here, you sell it an infinite amount of time. So in 12 months from now, when I've sold that pack 1,000 times, it's worth my time.
All right. Final 3 questions here, and then we're going to call it a night or a day in Australia.
Hey, that's all right.
Iqbal asks, are there any guidelines for those who want to become a contributor to the content store? We talked about it in a few questions already.
There are.
Gary, any suggestions?
Keep it neat and clean. They won't allow nudity or anything like that sort of thing in there. But other than that, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, surprisingly, in the early days of Icon in the marketplace, we did have people who tried to sell certain phallic items in the store.
How much did you make out of it, Kai?
Oh man, you know me. That's on the down low. But there are it's not a place for adults only. It's there's kids walking around there too, so we got to be careful.
Exactly. The next one's been answered, and the last one we can't answer.
TA, thanks for answering, Kai. How much you can charge for an animation job? Oh yeah, so animation jobs. If you want to hire like anyone from the religion community to do animation jobs, myself, I'm normally pretty busy. I'm not sure if Gary
I don't do it.
Look to pick up extra stuff. But there is the Global Training Center where we do have certain people who have free time and they're willing to donate their time or get paid for their time to do animations. Also, the marketplace, the forum is a good place to post if you want someone to do an animation job for you. I mean, Cartoon Animator itself is so easy that you'd almost be better served to just kind of learn it yourself in a lot of ways, unless you're like one of those super busy businessmen, always maybe driving around with a Bluetooth headset or something like that. But it doesn't take much to learn. Again, I recommend the learning curve is very easy. So, but again, the Global Training Center is a place to find people to hire if you want, or the forums. All right, I think we are finally out of questions. One question from Mark here: what software do you use to draw characters? And then we're done.
I use CorelDRAW, and you know what? There are alternatives out there that are way cheaper that do exactly the same thing. The only reason I use CorelDRAW is that I'm on version 21 and I've been there since version 1, and it cost me a fortune, but I know the software and I can move really, really fast in there.
Yeah, that's what you're used to. Yeah, for sure.
That's all. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. I think we are pretty much good to go. Gary, I can hear your stomach rumbling from here. I know you're pretty hungry to grab some Barbie. Is that what you call it down in Australia?
I'm actually going off to pick up my daughter from school.
Oh, okay. Well, that gets off pretty early then, eh? That's nice.
Yeah, 2:30.
Right on. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. Again, don't forget to fill the survey. Gary's got to run pick up his daughter. I got to run watch the hockey highlights over here in Canada. So thanks so much, everyone. And thank you, Gary. Yeah. We'll see you.
I'm thrilled that we finally got to do this together. You got no idea. I'm thrilled. I mean, we've known each other for 10 years, and I'm thrilled that we finally got to actually do this, my friend.
Yay for us.
Everybody that turned up. You guys keep turning up to these, and I promise you, if they let me, I'll keep making them.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Truer words were never spoken. All right. Adios,
Good
guys.
afternoon, everybody.